one of the things that has just dawned on me over and over again, I think this is part of your influence on our life, is they will live as you do. Your kids will live as you do. I come from a wonderful family, but we're great at speeches. And I think that my family thinks that a great speech is going to change someone. It may change them for a moment. And this is not all true. Like, we go to church, there's great teachers, there's great things. But you know what affects me the most is when I see a great man, when I see a great woman, and they love each other, they shepherd each other, they care for each other. Because you know who's watching? These little ones. The other thing is your friendships, they will live as you do. I think that was one of the big things in my life in the last month that I felt more passionate about, is cleaning up my own life and having it be pure. Because if my life is pure, they will live as I do.
Yes.
Now, they will also live in a fallen way if I live in a fallen way. It calls me higher.
Yeah.
I won't lose hope in the night when the fire's growing dim. I'll just let go and I'll try. Help me walk this road and find my way back home. Find my way back home. Find my way home.
Welcome back to the Famous and Known podcast. We are in a series called The People Who Shape Us, and today we have our bestest of friends, Luke and Courtney Smallbone, with us.
Hi,
It was
guys.
intimidating to start out a podcast with the people who shaped us. And here, I don't know, something about
I
that.
know, we just keep doing it too.
Honored, honestly, that
Yeah.
you would have us take a moment to chat about all the things.
Well, we are honored to have you, and one of the reasons that we're having them on is because we wanted to give you insight into our friendship and give you insight into kind of what shapes us as we live in the day-to-day, and even insight into what our text threads look like as a group text, and how we fight for each other, how we pray for each other, how our kids get along.
Which you probably
most
will
of the
hear
time.
them.
Maybe
Playing
hear
out.
them.
They're all playing together right now.
But our hope for you as you listen to this episode is that you are praying into and that you are fighting for these types of relationships, these covenant type of friendships where you are warring for each other, that you're doing life together in this greater kingdom realm that we find ourselves in. And so we just hit record and we're just going to talk, actually. I don't even know if there's really
Fire
I know.
Fire
Well, and I think too, though, just to add, like we were talking about this earlier, just the hope that it's possible. Because I know we've all felt like that sense of aloneness where you're like, I don't know if there's anyone out there. I don't know if there's anyone growing like we are or moving like we are. And so you go insular. And I think that's the hope, is that there is wherever you're headed, like glory to glory, there's people there waiting for you. And there's friendships there that you like couldn't have planned for. And even the way you guys, like the way the friendship started was kind of unique. And you guys could probably tackle that one.
I mean, if you want to tell a story for us, Christy, by all means.
So back in the day,
And what's funny is we haven't been friends in chronologically for all that long, but yet it feels it feels like it's been a lifetime in a very good way.
we all did get married on the very same day. Same year.
Which is crazy to
Kinda
think
weird.
back
Like
on.
literally we were
That's
getting
the
married
way.
at the same time.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Going on our
Well, it's only-
honeymoons at the same time.
Everything.
Let's talk about that. How we started. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually had a mutual friend who said for years, Russell actually was like, hey, you need to know Josh. And he said, he's got a podcast, you should go on it. And it just logged it in my mind because Russell's a good friend of mine. And obviously Al's a mutual friend. But somehow our worlds did not collide, maybe for a year after that.
It was a while.
It may have been maybe even a year and a half. It was
And
quite a while.
fun fact, Russell and Sarah were the second interview we ever had on our podcast.
Which is crazy.
What?
Which is crazy.
Isn't that
I
wild?
totally forgot that.
Not wild. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that had logged in my mind, and we moved to the town that we live in, Columbia, Tennessee. It's probably about, 10 years ago now? 11 years, actually, I think. And always had hoped for a church in our hometown. And we weren't going to a church in our hometown for a while. And a lot of the churches in the area, great churches, just never felt that drawn to it. And there was a plant that was going on. And literally, we started going, I think the first day, started going to.
Were you there the first day?
Yeah.
I think that we.
Guys, I had been praying for a church in the town, and I said, whatever it is, if it's in the square, that's our church. And then I was like, there it is. We're going. That was our, yeah.
And I believe, I'm trying, it sounds so strange to be like, when was the first time you met? Especially between two males. It's extremely unique.
How precious. Keep going.
But I think it was at
cute.
church. I think you came up or I came up or something at church. And so anyway, I connected to Russell saying, "Hey, you should meet Josh." And mind you, it may have been a year and a half, 2 years prior when Russell had said this. I forget how long it was. So anyway, we kind of just would see each other at church, and it wasn't too much longer where a group of men from our town were kind of getting together to pour into our sons. And I don't know if we had known each other for however many weeks,
super long.
And you had just said to whoever was talking to you, "Hey, Luke and the boys should do this as well."
Well, because our boys were connecting at church.
That's right.
And so it was like, hey, why don't you guys join and let's see how this thing goes. And
so anyway, I mean, and you can tell the story as much as me, but we just became friends in this very acquaintance-like friendship, especially at first. And eventually you guys were like, "Hey, why don't you come over for dinner at our house?" And we went. Yeah. I think that's where Leo said, our third boy said to you guys, what did he say again about your house?
He walks up, he gets out of the car, and he walks up and he goes, "You live in a subdivision. You should live in a homestead." I was like, "Oh, okay, hi, bud. Come on."
Yeah, so very, very unique. I think at that point I was extremely embarrassed. I was like, "Buddy,
he's
can't
never
really
done
say
that." So I was like,
anyway,
there's something there.
No. Because
Very
then Courtney
interesting.
goes, she's like, "Well, sorry, he says stuff like that sometimes, but he's not usually wrong." I was like, "Got it. Okay."
So we went over the house and obviously connected in a great way. And then it was basically like, "Yeah, cool, this is going great. We're leaving."
And for those of you who've listened for a long time, we sold our house, and you all know that. But it's like, yeah.
And you went up to.
You were the last
Pennsylvania.
people that came to our house.
I think you sold it like 3 weeks later.
I remember we talked
listed it
about
that
it
week.
that
That week
week.
after.
We listed it, and I think it sold actually that weekend. So it was like there was it, but like we knew Leo was not wrong because it was like we knew that something was like coming. There was this wrestle, and then it was like this pull the trigger.
Yep.
And
So you guys
off
moved.
we went.
Yep.
How long was that? You were up in Pennsylvania?
We were in Pennsylvania.
How long were you wayward
August
for?
To December. How long were we
Wayward for?
Hey, I think we were truly following.
I'm just
the
You
messing.
were.
We genuinely were.
I just remember being like, that was so fun. Why do they have to
Why did
leave?
they
Bye.
So fast forward a little while. You come back in town. You're at church. I think you were just by yourself.
Yep.
And I had just had my wisdom teeth out, I think on a Thursday or a
Sure
Friday.
did.
And Courtney's like, "I don't think you're going to church this weekend." And I was like, "You know what? I still am a Christian if I don't go." And so anyway, I didn't go. And Courtney comes home and says, "Hey, I saw Josh at church, and he was just joking about, hey, we may be coming back sometime." And so anyway, it was afternoon. I'm like swollen and puffy. And I was like, I had this feeling, we own this property in this town in Columbia. And I just had this feeling that I should reach out to Josh. So anyway, a couple hours go by. You're at some piece of property that you guys own. At a picnic table.
Yep, that's right.
Praying about God's direction for your life.
Exactly what we were doing.
All right?
Yep.
I waited a
I'll
couple.
never forget
I
that
waited a
moment.
couple hours, and I felt,
Yep.
hey, I need to text Josh. And I just said, "Hey, man, if you were ever interested in coming back, I've got this property that you guys might be interested in."
Yep.
And little do you know, I could just see the visual. Josh is like, holy is holy, there with his hands on his knees on the bench,
A
like
light
this.
upon
And
him.
he felt a buzz.
And there's like, it was levitating.
So anyway,
I mean, it was
exactly, levitating, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, and gets this text and was just kind of like immediately like, "Hey man, would love to come take a look." And so this just started a friendship. And honestly, it's not lost on me that one of the first deep interactions that we had was you have a choice in anything divine that happens. You can label it coincidence, or you can choose to believe that God stepped in.
Yeah.
And for anyone, everything that happens, you can choose one way or the other. And we choose to believe that those are moments where God steps in. and it was just a simple text. Ironically, that instance has encouraged me more so in so many other ways of when something pops into my head, not delaying, but acting. And it can be about anything.
Yep.
It can be to your spouse. Hey, honey, I love you. It can be a friend that pops into your head. Hey, man, this is new of late for me. I've been having these weird dreams of just certain friends that have no seemingly spiritual connotations connected, but why were they in my dream? Yeah. So I wake up in the morning and say, hey, you were in my dream last night. Sounds weird, but just want you to know, praying for you, or I love you. And most every time I've done that, fruit.
Something's going on.
Hey, man, this was what was going on today. And it kind of comes back to that moment. So from that day on, we've just been dearest friends. You know, doing life, Eugene Peterson says, following Jesus is like a long obedience in the same direction. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing better, or there are few things better in life than when you're heading in that direction and you're bringing friendships along with you.
Yeah.
And you guys have been that to us, to see our kids thrive and flourish together. Doesn't mean they always get along perfectly, but they do thrive and flourish together. Is one of life's great joys.
Yeah.
And I remember, for me, because you and I were friends and we connected, but I didn't know. I mean, you just never know when it comes to, because it's so rare that.
We gotta be careful with these two.
It's so rare that you get, the husbands, the wives connecting in that way.
It is.
And I remember cutting wood back here with you. We had just moved back and we were having that conversation, and I would have never even thought that it would, morph into what it has today and how beautiful that is. But I think, as I've even been reflecting on our conversation here is, like you said, those God moments, we were praying into this. And what's fascinating to me is, as I was preparing for this conversation today, I was thinking about it in relation to how we were friends first and what brought our friendship together. And one of the things I think that brought our friendship together is the similarities in the visions that we had for how we were leading our families. And I think that's what started to unite us in that regard. Mm. And then we started to see how that even played out in the way that our kids were interacting. And I'm just going to shoot straight with this, but it's like, if, you're choosing not to have, video games in your home and we are, then all of a sudden you already have a conflict of interest as it relates to, am I going to send my kids over to your house? And we hear this all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, but at the same time, when you're leading in a similar direction with similar values, now all of a sudden you're connecting on those values, you're connecting what God is speaking to you. And I think there's a kindredness to that really set up what we have. And this is why I even talk about, relationships. Many times they have to happen organically, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, what is the Lord doing and praying into that? And that's why I think the praying component comes in.
Well, I think that's what happened is like, we're all walking the same direction and we looked over like, oh, hi, you're doing that too. Yeah. And that is from the Lord. Like as you're obeying the Lord, as you're like cultivating your life and your marriage and your children and whatever he's given you, but then like along the path, you have someone else like, oh, me too. And it's so beautiful and comforting and kingdom. It's kingdom relationships. And like, we need them.
It truly iron sharpens iron. Like you hear that, right? Like you hear that said. And I think that's what the experience has been. Like I said to Josh the other day, we talked about this too the other day, where it was like, I don't know that I would have the courage to do some things without you.
You wouldn't.
All of us. Like,
wait, you're including me in this?
I am, of course I'm including you.
This is like the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Luke.
So I call Christi Christ with an I.
Yeah. Because she is. Got it.
But anyway, continue.
No, but like, okay, I take this morning as an example. Courtney went and done something very brave.
It was so brave.
You were so brave, by the way. So brave. And it's not just like, you're not just texting me like, hey, will you pray? It's all of us. Like
our text string. Yeah. Talk about text string. We have a text string.
Yeah. And there's power in that. Like I'm telling, like there's something when Josh goes to speak, when you go and do stuff, like it's like this, you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And you're going out with, and I'll just say, like, literally I had this vision this morning. I'm driving on the road and I see us three blowing on her back, like just like wind at her back. And then like you sent a text and it came in like at that time. And I was like, that's what we're doing, is like, we're actually get to be like, that's what intercession does. But like in friendship, there's something so special about not taking these big leaps in life by yourself. Like, I just don't think you can.
Yes.
I was gonna say this. It's the old saying. You can only do 3 days without water, 30 days without food, and not a day without hope. And most people know that statement. But you know the other thing I would say, except for Christy. But you know the other thing I would say.
Nope.
You can also only go a few days without encouragement.
Well,
and if anybody ever says, "Hey, I'm a self," I don't need a lot of encouragement in life. It's actually their pride speaking. There is no one out there that does not need encouragement, and friendships should be that encouragement. Friendships in its pure nature, and it doesn't mean that we always do it right, should be jealousy free. Should be pride free, so that when those low moments happen, which they are, you've got someone to mourn with. But when those high moments come, you've got someone to cheer with. And I think that it's just something that's dawned on me of late. Like, with our kids, you see something great, man, encourage them. With my dad's 75 years old. The things that mean the most to him is when one of his kids calls him and says, "Hey, Dad, great job." Because he's the one usually giving out all the encouragement. But you know what? When people are giving out that encouragement, who's the one to encourage the encouragers? It might just be you. It might just be whatever. And I think friendships at their truest nature are there to spur people on and encourage people. And I just think that it might not be quite a day without hope, but it's probably every few days you need encouragement.
I was describing it this way to Christy today as you were going to speak and we were praying for you, and it was this image of, because I know when I'm gone and I'm getting texts from you all and that you're praying, I actually have this visceral experience of you're with me, like you're actually with me. And I have people who pray for us all the time, and you guys do too, where it's like, "Hey, I'm praying for you, and there's something to be said for that. But sometimes it feels like they don't know the details. And it feels like they're so texting from the palace. Like, I'm praying from the palace and we're going to war. And
like,
they're
you
sending
go do
us
that.
out.
Like, go grapes and comfort. And you're like,
get it. But
right? You're like
I just
sweating
have a picture
blood.
of Caesar.
I know. They're like, you go do that.
Yeah, you go do that.
Instead of we're all uncomfortable and we're all pushing forward.
But I envision you all on the battlefield with me when I'm going. And it's like that, there's a visceral experience to that. And I think finding friendships where it's like, you guys actually, where there's a sense of, I don't just pray, but I'm in it with you. I'm taking shots too. I'm willing to take shots too.
And carry it.
And carry it
with you.
And that's what the beauty of this type of a friendship is. And I think that it's what it's warred for. It's fought for.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to get outside the matrix and the comfort of your own life. Because I think so often in this culture that we find ourselves in, we tend to insulate. We tend to go home. It's like a retreat center. And rather than going to war with other believers, like, this is a kingdom realm, and we want to, we build the kingdom together. We fight for it together. And it's so much better when we do it together than just to go, you know what, I'm going to go to my job. I'm going to do my thing. And loneliness is at an all-time high. The consequence of loneliness today on the body is like smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So and I hear, we hear from families, we hear from people all the time, adults, dads, moms, I'm lonely. There's just we're lonely. Not being lonely requires risk.
Right.
It requires putting yourself out there. It requires maybe some of these friendships not actually working to the degree that you wanted them to work. And you have to be willing to keep fighting, to keep going. And I think that's what ultimately you end up seeing the fruit of a relationship like this, because it's like, no, we're going to put it all on the line for each other, for the kingdom realm.
And I think expose the parts of us that we'd rather hide. Like, I think, you come into our messy house, we come into your house. Like we have dinner, I don't know, once a week at least.
At least, yeah.
I mean, and it's just this like, hey, I've got this, come, and it's like, it's not, there's no polish. There's no pretense. There's no
Sometimes there's slippers, like just
or jammies,
slippers.
sweats, or, and then there's this like insertion in each other's lives where it's, where you, oh man, I'm thinking of one day. Do you remember Micah got that laundry pod in his eye?
I do.
You remember?
I sure do.
I mean, we all do. But like,
we all do.
He squeezed this laundry pod and it burst in his eye, and he was having, and I don't know. It took us in a tailspin. Like there was fear, and it was, ERs and what do you do? And blah, blah, blah. And Courtney just comes, she's like, I'm coming. She just comes on over. And it was, but you like, and I'm saying this like as if, we're sobbing, like we're weeping, and you're praying with us. And it was just this witness in the little things of life, where she knew we were like genuinely scared. Like there was something, like we were battling fear.
Yeah.
And we needed you to just show up. And that kind of like, I want to keep saying pretense, but like, there's just no pretending. Like, it's just like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
And I choose to let you see that. And I choose to let you like enter all of that.
Yes.
And I need help, or I need you. I need to not feel alone. Yeah. And I think that's what I need to laugh. I need coffee. I need to go for a walk. I need like whatever. It's just, I think those are the small moments like you're talking about where this like if this loneliness epidemic is like that.
That's it.
That's the thing that you're scared to expose because you are scared of rejection. And we talked about that like in our conversation last week where like that's real. Like people are hurt, and friendships there's betrayal, and that risk is real. And that's my prayer, is that like this podcast, this particular episode leaves you with the hope that exposure of who you are and like letting people in is the gift. And it is the brave risk that's worth taking.
And everyone has a desire. Like everyone has this desire, but someone has to go first. Yeah. So we live in a society that's, hi, how are you? So good. And it's like, all right, I think we're all tired of this, and people actually want to connect and actually want to know and be a part. And I think that's the wall that separates like so many relationships. But this is the call of the Church of Acts, right? It's breaking bread together. It is living life. This is actually what the church is called to, versus I'll see you once a week. Right. Don't really know anything about your life. Don't really want to get into the nitty gritty. Don't really want to touch your wounds. Yeah. All this stuff. I actually think the church, the blueprint of the church is the Church of Acts. It is in homes. It is in family. It is in living. And then you see God move in your life, and you get to celebrate that. You get to watch God heal things through friendships. You get to see families thrive. This is actually what we're called to, but it's like we have to break out of the mindset of the matrix of it has to look this way, because it will require you. It will require something of you. And the American culture is has become very unresponsive, right? It's become like, I'm a spectator. Yep. But the gospel and the Church of Acts, it's not a spectator sport, right? So it's like, if you want to stay a spectator, you are not going to be fulfilled, period. Like,
I think it was very interesting, because I think we've become an extremely self-reliant society.
Yeah.
Think about what a lot of parents say to you. My kid is, he's 22 years old now, and he's on his own. Right. Well, that's not a horrible thing for him to be on his own, but there's an indicator of he's separate from us now. Yes. I think friendships actually should be intentionally reliant on each other. If you have a great friendship, you need each other. C.S. Lewis says, if you don't want to get hurt, don't love a dog. Don't love another person. Don't love another thing, because it will let you down. It will break you. Yeah. At the end of the day, any friendship, you have to risk your heart. Why are you saying? Why is she laughing at me?
No, you know what I'm thinking of? the movie you made us watch.
Oh.
Can we please talk about this? So we went on a trip.
Called? I don't
Shadowlands. All right,
Guys,
so here's the deal.
tell
So
'em.
That's all I can picture.
I do like certain sometimes thinky things, and
Emo.
that's not for everybody, and that's fine.
No,
Apparently it's not for
it
Christy.
I'm just kidding. It's amazing.
accurately
So-
prepare us.
So anyway, we went on this
At
trip.
all.
We went on this trip, and one of the things that we've been doing when we go on these trips is we will pick our all-time favorite movies,
It's true.
Yeah.
or like what's one of the greatest movies you've ever watched, and it could be anything. If it was Jurassic Park, it could be whatever it is, Lord of the Rings, Braveheart, whatever it is, your greatest movie. And then the four of us have to sit down and watch it. All right. Well, there's this movie called Shadowlands, and it's about C.S. Lewis's life. Anthony Hopkins plays C.S. Lewis. It is a phenomenal movie that very few people have seen.
That's true.
But
There's
is
a reason.
emotionally wrecking.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's just say there was a river coming from Christy's eyes.
all of us.
There was a point where I was like, I actually can't stand this. Like, everything inside
But let me
is
ask you something.
breaking.
Was it a good movie?
It was I don't know if I could honestly endure it again, but it was
Can I please paint a picture? Here we are, sitting on a couch. We're sobbing, also eating Reese's at the same time, like we're teenagers. And I look over and Josh is crying too. And then I think you got up and got toilet paper and just brought the roll over, and we're passing
Guys, I'm
this roll
telling
of
you,
toilet paper.
this movie,
wiping
Shadowlands,
our tears.
now there's one really weird one, but it's with Anthony Hopkins. There's a weird one. Don't watch the weird one. Shadowlands with Anthony Hopkins. It's kind of life-changing.
It was.
We
And we
talked
talked
a lot
about
about
it for the
death.
next 4 days or something. It was
We
so
talked
good.
a lot about death during that trip. Yet, guys, we were like dog sledding. We're laughing like children. We're sliding on our socks, eating candy.
I mean,
and yet we're also talking about
We definitely
death.
took a detour, but Shadowlands, it's great.
And how did we get to Shadow? Oh, don't love anything ever.
Yeah.
And
If you don't,
never
if you
want
don't,
to get hurt.
if you don't want to get hurt,
Good job on
don't
that.
love anything.
Yeah.
Don't even love a dog.
Just insulate yourself. It's such a lie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it robs people.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that matrix that we keep referring back to is, I'm just thinking of it in relation to we are so busy, and that's the thing that everyone talks about. Is busyness. Like, we're too busy, there's not enough time. And I even think about in relation, as you were talking about it, Courtney, like, this is kingdom building. We are to be living letters to the world around us. And was it you or Luke? One of you said that we are what was the word you guys used? Self-reliant. And I think just the busyness, and so whether it's activities, travel, sports, all of those things, it's not that those things are bad, but our ability to be able to, if you're in the stands, and I thought this was so good, you talk about spectator, is don't just be a spectator at your children's games. Go into the stands and make friends. Go into the stands and take risks. Have that community. Be the glue for that type of community. Whatever community the Lord is putting you in and around, we need to be that. We need to take those risks. That's where I genuinely think that you're going to find those relationships. But the danger is to insulate. The danger is to be self-reliant. The danger is to go, man, I'm just exhausted. Didn't have enough time. And then we go home to our screens. And I think that is that's the image I get is we go to work, we work really hard, and then we come home and we just close the doors and everyone goes to their screens. No one's on the front porch anymore. No one's outside. And I'm generally speaking, but for friendships to truly cultivate really, really well, to cultivate great friendships is to be on the front porch, not just literally, but figuratively. Be out on the front porch as an invitation into your life to be that encouragement for other people.
Well, I think that what you're saying though is like be available. Like you have to have margin in your life to actually be available. And I think that's what actually, as full of lives as we have, that's what we do really well. Like there's other people that's like, are we scheduling into 2026? Like, is that when you're next available?
Yeah.
And like, that's,
I literally have people.
I know.
It's really
like
real.
They live at a different.
I'm just kidding.
that happened a lot. Okay, let's look at August.
We'll judge them.
I'm 27.
But like, I think that's where it's just like, what are you doing tonight? Like yesterday I was like, we're making soup. So you're staying.
I'm like,
obviously,
I'll be there.
Obviously.
I love your soup.
Obviously, you're
It's the
staying.
best.
But like, to just have that, that's a gift in and of itself.
But also think about that. It's like everyone wants to be an individual.
Right.
Like our society is like, promotes and yay, like individual success, individual everything. It's very individualized. Where like in other cultures, there's more multi-generational, but like Americans don't really want to share anything. They don't really want, it has to be about them, about what they do.
Yep.
And I actually think it's a mindset that the church can't have, like the body of Christ can't have, like living in Christian community. We have to break out of that because we're missing out on, being the hands and the feet of Jesus, being the eyes and being the ears. And it's like, as you were talking, I was like, whoa, that is like a real thing, because everyone wants their individual calendar, right? I'll book you then. And it's like, I'm sorry, that feels exhausting. You have no room for any of that. It's people think controlling all of those things is going to satisfy them when it's like you are missing God's treasure, which is people. That's who he came to die for, was like souls. And if you don't have time for his children, I just think that's like a flip.
And I also think that, look, if you want to have faith in Jesus, be prepared for him to disrupt your life, and that there's a great chance that could be a dear friend. You know what I'm saying?
Drop it. Yeah.
I mean, because I think some of my favorite memories as a kid, as an adult, is when something unexpected took place. A disruption took place in my schedule, in my life, in friendships. Be prepared to be disrupted in a beautiful way. Because that's where great things happen. If your life is just so look, there's people out there that are much more planned than I am. But, it's okay for the things to get a little messed around. It's okay for the schedules to get bumped. It's okay for, for disruption for the sake of Jesus to take place. There might be more fruit in the disruption than the planned. And yet I think we have it around backwards.
Well, I think too, this is where it's so good. When you live life so closely with somebody, you're accountable. Like we're accountable even in our marriage, because we live so closely to you guys that, how I'm treating Christi, you guys are seeing how I'm treating Christi, and vice versa. So when she's not being nice to me, you guys are able to call her out.
That's
on
what.
it.
Hey,
But the other component of that is,
this is when Counselor Luke steps in and is like, we tell jokes.
There was a moment there, and you know what? I showed a remarkable discipline. And just said, what? I'm going to let this cruise on by.
When? Right now?
Just right now.
You know what
it's so funny.
But he inserts himself as like, he's like, if you need some time, I can mediate for you.
But to your point, the other component of that is even in our friendship, like I am so much, and you can speak to this, and maybe
I'm ready.
Start counseling us. But I am so much more relaxed than I used to be, because your ability to relax and not be so scheduled has rubbed off on me. Especially as it relates to the animals and all these things and like different things. It's like I can be much more, I'll just let that go. Like it's not that big of a deal. We'll figure it out. I used to be way more uptight, type A, like just like, and just anxious about all those things. And
thanks, Luke.
I mean,
really appreciate it.
Even the
Really
dog,
grateful.
like eating the seat off of, the four-wheeler or whatever. It's just like, whatever. It's just like, it's a thing. And it's just helped me. And so my whole point of that is when you live so closely, you rub off the
does.
good.
It really does.
Rub off on each other.
I heard someone say, I think it was Tim Keller, he was talking about marriage, and he was like, man, when you get married, you're like this jagged rock.
Yep.
And the idea is, as you get closer to being in the ground, that's smooth. The rock is smooth. Obviously, I think that's in marriage, but you have to have people in your life to help round the edges that impact your marriage, that impact the health of your relationships. And I think that's been one of the joys of just our friendship is I just feel as a person more rounded. And I'm usually using the analogy of the rock here. And just more, you guys have a tremendous compassion for people.
Yes.
And mercy.
Yes.
It's one of the things I find remarkable about counselors is like, wait, you're saying that you sign up to deal with other people's problems on the daily? and you guys say yes. And that's just a remarkable thing because, I don't think you'll ever be accused in heaven from God for having too much mercy or compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if we could have and see, a child through, parents, like you forget that when you're at a moment in teaching a son or a daughter and the levels get hot, your kids know. They know the feeling. But if you show compassion and mercy in the moments of great heat, what does that speak to them? It's the opposite of what they're expecting. I think it speaks Jesus to them. I think that they understand, one of the things that has just dawned on me over and over again, I think this is part of your influence on our life, is they will live as you do. Your kids will live as you do. I come from a wonderful family, but we're great at speeches. And I think that my family thinks that a great speech is going to change someone. It may change them for a moment. And this is not all true. Like, we go to church, there's great teachers, there's great things. But you know what affects me the most is when I see a great man, when I see a great woman, and they love each other, they shepherd each other, they care for each other. Because you know who's watching? These little ones. The other thing is your friendships, they will live as you do. I think that was one of the big things in my life in the last month that I felt more passionate about, is cleaning up my own life and having it be pure. Because if my life is pure, they will live as I do.
Yes.
Now, they will also live in a fallen way if I live in a fallen way. It calls me higher.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the things I've loved about you guys, how you've spoken into our lives, our relationships, our kids, is if my kids were to love like you do, that'd be a great thing. Hopefully it's the same for your kids to us. And I think that's when you can start to see great friendships, is when I know I've had moments with Micah when he's come to me and he listens. He listens really closely. That's a great thing. I know that there's been moments with my kids coming to you guys and they say certain things. They listen to you.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a powerful thing. Influence is an extremely powerful thing. How will we wield it?
Yeah.
It's so cool, because even today, when you guys first got here, the first person I feel like Jude came to was me.
That's right.
He came out here. He's just sharing with me about his airsoft and things he's doing. And it's just, I just feel that connection with him. And man, it's so cool to see. And it's the gospel. The gospel's relational. It's not, and again, I'm not saying, we speak in many cases for a living, but it's like speaking is left brain oriented, right? And it's like the gospel's right brain oriented. It is this mutual, your character is shaped in the right side of the brain, and that's all relationships. Our character is formed in relationship. And so our kids are constantly asking, just like we're asking the question. And this is funny, because it goes back to what I was talking about earlier in relation to when you guys are with me. The question we're constantly asking for character is, what would my people do? What would my people do in this situation?
That's so good.
And just thinking about our kids, when they're put in situations, you know, your brain is processing faster than your left side, faster than the cognitive, like before you can even bring it to consciousness. Their subconscious, unconsciousness is going, what would my people do in this situation? And ultimately we want to go, what would my people Jesus do in this situation? But that is a reflection first of how we're parenting them, the community we surround them in. And so you think about that, and I think that's what brought us together initially, is going, man, we have these values, the set of values that we want our kids to be raised up in.
Yes.
And man, that's kind of the thing that brought us together originally. And that relationship is so important. And finding that is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, like, it's given our kids identity. Like, I think about our kids, and, Kennedy, she does this, like, photo, what would you call it? Like
her slideshow.
Her slideshow. Her slideshow of, like,
made me cry.
I know. Do we say what it's called? We call ourselves the commune, which
it's the text string.
Yeah.
Everyone has
we're
a
not
text string.
forming some sort of cult.
I know. I realize.
Or
we don't
are
lead with that.
I'd be fine with it.
Commune is short for community.
There you go.
That's what we're building.
Thank you,
Yes.
Dr.
Right.
Straub.
Thank you.
That's right.
To commune.
The root word of community.
But I realize, like, that's what it's been for all of them. I think for all of them, it's like this sense of identity. Like, they have formed something, and I was like, I'm literally watching them drive around,
Play with the chickens, and then drive around on the four-wheeler.
and mules. And it's created in them this, I feel like, this strength to stand out. Like, they don't care.
Yep. Sure don't.
I mean, right? Like, I think I've seen it in all
They're
of them.
their own people.
They
each
really
one of them.
are.
In all of them.
And they defend one another. Yes, they fight here and there, you know, but like siblings do, where
Yeah,
you're
that's
just,
it.
you know, they kind of little, but they have really formed one another. And I think there's a strength about them that I can say, like, looking back a few years, like, it has enhanced so many beautiful things in them.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And I think to even just say, like, I'm thinking about your kids, and like, it is truly, it almost feels like aunt uncle relationship, where it's like, I love them so much. And the stuff they come in, it's like, Christy, and they like share all the things. And it's like, you get to be this little like safe place, you
That's
know,
it.
outside of mom and dad,
Yeah.
because they feel so safe at home. But it's like, there's other people out there that are so safe, and they're not even necessarily family. So it's like, they can talk about whatever. And it's just so precious.
Well, and to your point, you were talking about Keller earlier. I remember Keller talking about he started this one sermon, you maybe even heard it, where he's like, there's only two races in the world. And you're like, wait a minute, what? And he's like, yeah, there's two races. There's the children of God and there's not the children of God. Like, according to scripture, like that's what we've got. We've got children of God and not children of God. And you're either of his kingdom or you're not. And in that relation, we are the children of God. And when we become children of God, like I was telling her today, like texting you, I was like, I genuinely am like I see it as texting my sister. Like, I'm going to war for my sister. That's what the kingdom of God is all about. We are brothers and sisters. Our kids are like, I mean, this is what this is. And man, why I think we live in the most individualistic country, I think in the most individualistic time in history.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're products of that. That's the part of the matrix that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
And our ability to fight against that so that we can live in kingdom relationship and kingdom community, we're brothers and sisters. I mean, this is even Jesus saying, you know, this isn't my mother and father, you know, it's like, no, these are my, right? It's like he's talking kingdom, children of God. That's the kingdom. Like those are the two races. You're either part of the kingdom of God or you're not. And when we are, man, we got to live differently. And that relationship, that friendship is so, I think, just a beautiful picture of that.
I even thought about the verse. What is the verse that says, in the end of time, people will be lovers of themselves, looking for whatever tickles their ears? I actually think that's why there's such an urgency to do things to, well, the flesh, right? To quiet the flesh and to serve one another as a body. I think when you look at scripture and you look at, people will be lovers of themselves. I mean, we're in those times, right? Yeah. There's like 3-second TikToks. Everything's just about, even in a Christian community, it's about my promises of God, what, you know, all these things versus what is the grand story that we're a part of. And I think it's a very urgent, nuanced thing that we need to be aware of is like, how am I, doing the Great Commission? How am I like in his heart, loving his people, connecting with his people versus insulated, coming in and out and really loving our lives, right? Instead of, it says to give up your life, right? I just was thinking about that as you were talking.
And and into that point. So we have, Dallas Willard talks about this, our flesh, our emotions, so our flesh is made up of our emotions, our feelings, and our desires. But and a lot of times that is what you're talking about. It's like, this is I want the word for me, and I want this for me, and it's about our individual world. That's my desire. Versus praying and going, Jesus, what is your desire for me? It may not be what I want, but I know in the end, because you want it for me, then that's the best desire. That's the good desire. That's what I want to go. But that requires sacrifice. It requires surrender. And so I would love for you to talk about this, because I think it's important to, or even you can share too, Luke. It's like this sense of, what does it look like to go beyond the surface, to go beyond we just want to have chickens and, you know, do life and have like, no, there is a warring for. So when we pray for each other, we see what's going on in the spirit world even more than what's going on in the surface and what's going on in the natural world, and how we fight for that in the middle of all this. So that it's not just our desire for quote unquote friendship, but it's our desire for friendship that wars both in the natural and the supernatural.
Yeah.
As Eldridge describes, we're amphibious, right? It's like, how do we live amphibious friendship?
Well, and I think too, like what you're speaking to is there is a pacing of one another that I don't know that you can run as fast unless you're being paced. And I think that's what we've done, where it's like you're running and you're pushing me. And so I feel this call to, like, I can do it. I can be pushed outside my comfort zone, which I like. I think we all do. But like I would rather stay home, and I would rather hide, or I would rather not grab the microphone, which is making me think of like that one Sunday. And that was Luke, where he was like,
he did.
Christi,
He called it out.
Where did you go? I literally took off. Like,
I've never seen her run so fast. I was like, yo, where'd she go?
But you can speak to that, because like I think that's what you're saying, where it's like I see something we talked about this last time, like you can see clearer into like our lives than probably we even see it, and it's like, hey, and but you're not afraid to, like, and I think that's the thing, it's like we don't just like sit and have dinner. It's like half the time it becomes like
Oh boy.
We cry, we laugh.
No, look,
There's
it's
prayer.
intercession.
It's the full spectrum of things. I think sometimes in marriage, you become so well acquainted to your marriage that you actually forget to see some probably very obvious things that other people can see.
Yeah.
And so this Sunday that she's referring to, the pastor was like, hey, Courtney, will you come up and pray? And Christi, will you come up and pray? And so I think Christi was very happy for Courtney to go first. And then
very
Courtney
happy.
finishes.
You looked me.
Very happy.
Then Courtney finishes, and I don't know if Christi was actually praying or just ignoring, but she was deep in prayer somewhere, and then there was no Christi there to pray anymore. And so anyway, I was like, I'm back somewhere.
In my defense, I was praying
And I'm out of
over-
town. I have no idea.
Yeah, he's
I'm
out of town. So I was just observing all that was going on. And it was a very
didn't
powerful
defend me.
moment. It really, really was. Needless to say, Christi never got around to praying. She was
On
praying
the
for people
microphone.
on the
I
microphone.
didn't take the microphone.
And so anyway,
That's
I
what
got
I
to
did
the
do.
end of it. And so like our youngest kids are the same age. So I went and got Evie and I don't know if I don't think I got Micah, but they were there. And sure enough, I get out and I must have said hi to someone, and here's Christi marching with Micah. And then all of our other kids meet at another area that they're all together in. And sure enough, I look over to where their car was parked, and in 3 minutes, she's gone. And so I was just kind of, so I don't know if we were seeing each other later that day or it was the next day or whatever. And I just
she
came and
over
I
that
just,
night. I'll never forget it. You were in my kitchen. I'm like, so
you ignored the Lord, huh?
what's going on in there? What's happening in there?
But it was just, but
But
anyway.
you did it so nice. You were both real nice, but it was like this, like it was like the like hands on your shoulders. Remember when you like when we were in the bottom rung of life, and you put your hands on my shoulders, and you were like, "Why didn't you take the microphone?" I was like,
All that to say is, I think that's what hopefully people are doing is they're calling people higher.
That's
Sometimes
it.
I think that even when I said before, like they will live as you live, you got to be careful in that. There's no arrogance in that.
"Yeah,
That to be called higher is the goal. Holiness is what we hope for. It doesn't necessarily mean that we always achieve that. And that's where grace catches you. But let us not forget that we are called to be pulled up, to go higher. Because you know what happens when you guys go higher? Who gets the glory?
The Lord.
If we go higher, who gets the glory? You know what I'm saying? So in friendships, I think to call people to, hey man, I see this in you. And it doesn't have to be in a dogmatic way. It doesn't have to be in a condemning way, even if Christi laughs at me. But it can be such a wonderful exchange of friendship. All right, carry on. What were you going to say?
no,
She's got more. Go.
No, I don't. I think I needed it. Like I needed because it was like triggering all my things. And I was just praying individually for people, and I didn't take the microphone. Yes, that's true. And I needed
Boy, did that prayer
you.
get serious real quick right at the moment. You know what I'm saying? I'm kidding.
I was like, it's done. I don't need to add anything. But that's how I felt. I was
I'm
like,
getting a
it's
word
fine.
from the Lord right now.
Yeah, I just let it pass. I'll say it even that way, right? Where it's like, you just let it, you let it pass. And I think it's just such a great example of what friendship can do, where it's like, no, you don't do that. Like, I won't let you do that. And you didn't let me do that. And then it just became, it was good. It was so, like I said, like good. It was deeply good because we got to like the root.
We got real down there.
There of like where it all came from. And it was just the three of us in the kitchen because you were gone. And that was the other thing. You were gone. So that was, it was
a whole thing.
It was a whole thing.
So I couldn't.
It was Josh's fault.
Yeah, I couldn't call it
I
out,
don't know.
which is really good. I couldn't call
Actually,
it
it was good that you didn't call it out.
Yeah, it is
I
good.
probably took it
But
back.
let's be honest. I mean, let's go to that dynamic.
Guys, there's some things like, hey, when we were in the, sitting down together and you guys pointed something out that maybe you were too close to, or, you know what I'm saying? There's something about that where it's like, hey, I don't know if you're seeing yourself totally clearly through that. Like, why do you, and I'm like, oh, and it's like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for, it's like, that's what it feels like. It's actually such a gift.
Yeah, it's like truly it is.
I'm like, get it off.
Yeah, that's it though.
Help, please.
And it is like, help,
It's
please.
true.
Like,
Help,
I don't
please.
know why I ran away, but I would love to know. So
So you want to go on a journey with me to find out? Sure.
So we died.
I know, I'm like,
And then you prayed over both of us.
yes, you did.
I know.
That was so sweet.
That we would be fearless.
We'd be fearless. You did pray that.
And I'll tell you, when there's husbands backing you up,
Come on now.
we can get into that another time. But I just think
It's
spiritually-
powerful. It's
Well,
powerful.
maybe say it now.
I say it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just think that, I mean, the oneness of marriage, the one flesh of marriage, I mean, it's why the enemy wants to go after it more than any other relationship. And so our ability to be able to support you all, give you a voice to war for you is just, I mean, the enemy can't touch it.
And look, I think the other thing is it's been a joy to see, obviously, you guys as friends connect in such a deep way, but you guys are different from us in the best way. And I don't think like you guys. I don't pray like you guys.
Yeah,
in the best way.
That's very true.
Once again, like I think that
very true.
I think when this is a basketball analogy, but when you're picking a team, you have like a tall center. You have ball handlers, you have great shooters, and that's what makes a great team. Oftentimes, an all-star team doesn't actually win championships. It's people that know their roles. Well, marriage is like that. Yep. I'm not the same as you in the best way, and to be able to see and lean into, like who you guys are. The way that you pray, the way that you look to rely on the Holy Spirit, it's convicted me. It really has. Like I wasn't programmed that way growing up.
Yeah.
So there's been deprogramming and going, well, what if that happened for blah, blah, blah? Like you go to the spiritual first and I go to logic first. Yep. And I don't think that's the right thing. So anyway, all that to say is when you guys and your friendship is fairly different, if I might say, than Josh and I's. We don't look at that.
Go real deep.
No, we do, but we don't look at that as like there they are going again. I mean, maybe sometimes we do.
As a joke.
But we actually look at it as
joking?
like, man, look at the way that God speaks to them. Isn't it marvelous? It's different the way He speaks to me.
Yeah.
Because I grew up thinking, like, I hear the voice of God, but in a different way. I think that inside the church, we're subconsciously trained to actually hear the voice of God the same way as everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a very much a God that we control.
Yeah.
So that's obviously not who God is. God speaks individually. So when He individually speaks to you guys, it leaves me in awe. Because it's not necessarily the same way He speaks to me, but just as powerful.
Yeah.
Just as convicting, just as truthful, And so I look at it as just this well-rounded thing that's brilliant. And I think for anyone who's watching, if your wife or your husband has different encounters with God that you don't understand, man, don't condemn that. Lean into it. See what it could be.
That's
because I think I've wrestled with for a long time, like, well, so-and-so hears it that way. I should be there's something wrong with me because I'm not hearing it that way. You and I have had a lot of discussions about this
100%.
and going, well, no, but I hear him chopping firewood.
Mm-hmm.
I hear him. I hum a lot. I know I sing for a living, but I sing and I hum a lot. God speaks to me in that way. It might not be that for them. And to be able to see an individual God who looks at you and says, I gave you those talents, no one else. You hear from me like no one else.
Yeah.
It leaves me in awe. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And you think about how every one of our kids is different.
Yeah.
How we parent them differently.
Yes.
Yep. It's the same way how he speaks to us. We have to speak. We receive differently. And I think we've had trouble with that in our own marriage where you're hearing things and I question, like, am I actually hearing from God? And she's like, oh, you hear from God. But I had to learn what that looked like. And you are showing me that. But then it even, as the word says, I think it's Paul that writes this, is the whole idea that the whole body is made up of various gifts for that very reason, to bring unity and to build his kingdom. And that's what great friendship does, is you bring various giftings, various insights, various prophetic voices, everything together for the building up of the kingdom to move 2 Corinthians 3 from glory to glory. We are living letters. We're raising little kids who are living letters to the world around them. And we just are constantly leveling up from glory to glory. The verse that came to my mind, or the set of verses that came to my mind as we close this conversation.
I want to say something about this.
What'd you do?
I
Wait, you want to take the mic?
I would like to say, take it. Are you proud of me?
I'm proud,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to honor you too, because I think what you guys need to know, and I cry, which is a shock to literally no one I know. I've actually held it together this whole time. So there's that. Okay?
I love it.
We couldn't do what, like we wouldn't be who we are without you, and without your support.
True.
And you don't make fun of us.
It's 100%.
And
true.
you do sometimes, but it's
like
in
in
love,
love,
and not in this
love.
way. I don't mean it this way. But you don't make fun of us, and you don't make us feel like we're foolish, or like, whoa, you are out there, or you are too much, or you are, because there's enough voices that do that. And what you guys have done, and I think that's what's so special, is like, you are very similarly wired, and we're similarly wired, and you both make us feel like we're not alone, and we're not crazy, and that, like, we need your shield. We need your prayer protection. Like, we need your logic, actually, at times, and to bring us back down or pull us back up when we, there's high highs and low lows and everything in between. And I just honor you both for that, because it has made, it grounds us.
Yes.
I'm like speaking for you, but
No, it's true. Keep going.
right?
Yep.
Like it, there's a grounding, like we feel safe, we feel free, we feel enabled, I think, to like follow God however he calls us to. And you're not going to be like whispering in the wings, like, oh, I mean, you guys sometimes do that. There they go again. But it's in a beautiful way where you guys like just always are always at our backs, always supporting us. And I just can't like iterate how much that matters.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know sometimes it's a wrestle. And so I just thank you both.
I have loved being married to someone who's different than me, because your difference makes me better. Your difference makes me dream bigger dreams, and I'm a fairly simple man, but without a wife to believe in me and give me courage when I'm probably less courageous than what most people think, it's a dream come true. I've often said that, the favorite title that I've ever been given is Father. But without the love that we have, I never get Father. And so Father is wrapped up every bit with who you are. And we have 4 beautiful kids who convict me, challenge me, but boy, do they give me joy. And I love, you're my best choice,
Nice.
and it's a joy.
Sweet.
It's so true.
It was a really good choice. I just want to affirm you. Well done.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
And it was a good day
job.
to get married too.
It was a good day to get married.
It
Who
was
would
a
have
good
thought?
day.
That's crazy.
Guys, I really
It's a good
wish
day
we
to
could
get
have been
married.
at your wedding and that you could have been at ours.
I
but-
know.
I always say I actually came home this weekend. I was out of town for a few days at this event, and I was talking to someone about the event, and I was trying to process through, like, what is it that stood out to me that I want other people to know? And so many times I would be going through the food line, you're going through this line and it's a cafeteria style, and I'm with all these other, mental health leaders in the Christian space, and we're having conversation, catching up in life, and people were saying, how are you doing? And I just always kept saying, man, we are so good. Our marriage is the best it's ever been. And it's like, I love my wife more now than I ever have, and for reasons I could never put words to. And it's because of all of this. It's because of the way you push me, the way that you, we have grown so much together. And I just said, I want people to love their marriage the way that I love mine.
Yes.
That was the thing that I want. I want people to love their marriage the way that I love mine. And so that was my takeaway, even just this week, is being able to feel like I can go and just have that joy of my marriage. And
You're welcome.
it's awesome.
You are welcome.
You're so welcome.
We are blessed.
We are.
I mean,
we really are. And so the set of passages that was coming to me earlier as it relates to this conversation has nothing to do, I don't think, with friendship at all. But it's at the forefront of my mind constantly. It's a prayer that I pray constantly, but it also is, I think, as I think about our dinner conversations, where this passage came is us sitting down having dinner conversations, calling that thing out in you that one night. I mean, you having your conversation. It's like our conversations go well into the night, well past our children's bedtimes. And
They're
it's not
thrilled about
and
it.
it's not because we're talking
That's
about, the weather and things like that.
No.
We are going to deep.
what?
And the prayer it was Moses' prayer.
Yeah.
And he's saying, Lord, teach us your ways. And I think this is our friendship, is we're constantly saying, Lord, teach us your ways. Make me aware of your presence in my life, because I don't want to go where you're not.
Yes.
And show us your glory.
Yeah.
We want to do this for your glory. And I feel like that prayer that Moses prayed sits at the center, the epicenter of our friendship. And I think that's what makes it so beautiful. And so thank you guys for your dear friendship.
Love you.
You're a
The
gift.
best days of our life.
It is.
And even if there were,
We really are living it.
and even if there were a couple bumps,
Yeah.
these would still be the best days of our life.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with, I think, our mentality and recognizing that even in the struggles, there's faithfulness and there's goodness, usually more in the bumps. There haven't been quite as many bumps of late. We've been able to just enjoy some of the spring that is literal, but also I think in our lives and in our friendships. But I keep saying the same thing. These are the best days of our life right now.
Yeah. Yep. And you have given me that foundation, genuinely. I mean that as a friend, to just the way that you live and the way that you guys live for him and him at the epicenter and that foundation. I've come over even this past year just to trust him significantly more than I've ever put trust in him before in my life. And that's in large part because of the way you have spurred me on personally. And I know both of us too, because she's found her voice in that process. So thank you.
Well, we have dinner tonight, and so who the heck knows what we're going to talk about tonight.
Y'all, pray into this. We love you. Until next week, may you find your way